Right. Hello, Starshines. Christina here with Rise of the MultiDimensional Human and LightbodyInc.com. Woohoo! I'm here for the lunchtime chat for, let's see, this is 10/11/2018. The Q&As. Wow, we have some really great things to talk about. And they seem like, the topics seem like they don't connect, but they absolutely weave together. So I'm excited to make this video and talk about this. I am going to have to frame it up in the understanding of the 9 dimensions because these are pretty, these are pretty complex issues that I need to ideas that I need to convey before I can actually clearly answer these questions. So this is the most direct way that I know. So the things that we're talking about, blue avians. I recently have been contacted by blue avians actually at the conference. And so the Starshine was asked me to throw that in there last minute into this talk, which I think is beautiful synchronicity considering the topics that I'm going to be covering today. And so in talking about them, I'm inviting them into the collective, to connect with us in that collective grid level. And we can all just kind of download the backup understandings and codements of the things that I'm talking about. So blue avians, yay! Then I'm going to be talking, answering the question about what dimension do light languages come from. This is a brilliant question, and it needs a new frame up in order for me to answer it accurately. So I'm going to talk about that. And then another dear brother was asking about, asking if I would talk more about the endocrine system. So I'm going to talk about the endocrine system on the level of claiming your autonomy of it, the different functions that our endocrine system has that most humans aren't aware of, and how that relates to our multidimensional perceptions and ability to claim autonomy and liberation on those levels. So that's the context of the endocrine system I'll be talking about. And then triggering teachers. And I'm actually going to start off with stories about triggering teachers because I had a dear sister, soul sister. Oh my gosh, I love, love, love you, Hanukkah. I'm so glad to see your face, darling. It's been a long time. But she asked if in a previous video, she asked if I would share some stories about some triggering teachers, because I mentioned that. And to put that a little bit into context on why I find it so humorous is that dear sister and I met at a Vipassana when there was a lot of triggering happening at the moment. And well, it was a lot of fun. Hey, Brittany, hi, darling. So glad you're here. Thank you. Good to see you. Well, without further ado, I'll just go ahead and dive in. So, triggering teacher stories. All right, so here's the thing about teachers. What the right teacher we've heard this, that the right teacher comes along when you're ready, right? So it really has a lot to do with your intention and what it is that you want from a teacher. Hello, Rebecca. Welcome, welcome. And so what you want from a teacher in your path, in your inner journey path, changes as you deepen and grow and things like this. So the ones that are in the beginning of the path are usually very loving and kind and gentle, and they open you up to sweetness and stuff like this. But as you get going, you get tested on other levels. When I say tested, it's more of like you are challenged to show up in other levels like this. So the teachers and the teachings that the teachers have to deliver get more and more challenging like this. Hello, Patrick. Nice to see you, darling. So what happened for my context of looking for teachers was back in, and I'm going to tell a little bit of story on why the awakening practices are happening right now, why they're so readily available and they're no longer under the capture of mystery schools and lineages. It's because in our solar ring, we're evolving consciousness, right? And every planet is holding a pattern of consciousness that we're walking through and experiencing like this. And Jupiter is the keeper of the mystery school teachings and the keeper of the secrets of our expansion and our awakening. Those of you that are interested in astrology probably resonate with what I say. So it's like in 94, the Shoemaker-Levy, I'm sorry, 92, that we discovered the Shoemaker-Levy comet on a crash course for Jupiter. And it didn't actually hit Jupiter until 94. And when that comet hit Jupiter, it was a 500 like megaton blast. And so it's like if you took all of the nuclear weapons on this planet and times it by 500 and dropped it on Jupiter, it was that level of a blast on the planet Jupiter, and it has completely altered Jupiter's atmosphere ever since. So what that did on a consciousness level for us on this planet was that it blasted all of the mystery school teachings, the awakening teachings, to the wind. So all who have the eyes to see, the ears to listen, and the heart to receive would be able to digest and do something with these teachings, okay? And the wisdom teachers, the wisdom keepers of this planet were given a sign to open up the teachings. And this is also the same time when the indigos and different star children, starseeds were coming to this planet. So what happened is that the different shamans and medicine people, they said yes to teaching people outside of their tradition, and they took in the indigos, they took in the starseeds, they took in those of us that were imbuing DNA and altering it, and were like slated to be the waker uppers, like this, and so they did that. And there's many people that echo this story. I recently came across a Sangoma that's a Westerner that was trained to be a senior Sangoma medicine man. And he's amazing, absolutely amazing. If you are in the Colorado, Denver area, I highly suggest going to his ceremonies. They're just profound. His name is John Lockley. He had a sickness, and the medicine woman that took him in had a dream that she had to teach an outsider to be a senior Sangoma the day before she met him. So he, like, serendipitously, of course, knocks on his door with a group of people. They meet, and she's like, over time they got that kind of connection, and she's like, yes, I'll train you like this. And that happened for many of the indigos that are like in their 40s and 50s like me today, So it's like the opening multidimensionally for this planet that process has been underway for quite some time. So the thing is, to awaken as a human, you have to let go of everything you think you are and everything you think you know, because we're taught completely bass-ackwards about reality. So that's the kind of challenge these medicine elders had with taking in us as starseeds, is that we were completely bass-ackwards in how we were conditioned and taught. And not just us, in our life's journey, but our lineages as well, our parents, our grandparents. We were all conditioned in this way to not be in our body and to have our electricity appear and be in the mental field. And we rewarded intellectualism, we rewarded all these patriarchal priorities. So they took us in, and we were bass-ackwards, which means oftentimes we needed to get hit really hard with the lesson. Okay, so this is why master teachers, when they're coming in to teach you a lesson, this is why very often there is something scathingly painful or many things that are scathingly painful that you need to go through in order to digest the light codes, the transmissions that they're giving you. Okay, so one of those, I've had many. Okay, I was thick. I really was, how do you say it? Yeah, I was thick. Let's put it that way. I was stubborn, and I really thought that I knew, so I had to get my ass kicked more than many times. In retrospect, I laugh about it, but at the time it was really uncomfortable. It was really painful. And one of those times was when I went to go, a friend of mine had a radio show, and she interviewed a woman, a master Toltec named Almi. And she said that, we're invited to come to her workshop in New York City. And we talked, and she explained to me what it was about. I didn't quite understand it, but I knew I had to go. It was one of those kinds of things. So we fly from Ohio to New York. And just so happens when we fly, it's on 9/11, just, not long, like maybe 2005. And so things were still kind of fresh. And we're on this plane, and a storm rolls in. And long story short, we almost died like 3 times getting this plane landing, okay? And by the time we landed and the plane stopped, I mean, everybody was on their seats cheering and like, hallelujah, we're alive. It was like a very real, like, we're gonna die experience. So we land and we get there. And so we're, I'm about to go meet an immortal master teacher. So I'm primed now. I just faced death, you know? So we go there, and the whole workshop was about stepping outside of the frequency of time. Actually being able to recognize the plane that is the timeline existence and step out of it. And then from there, actually end the loop of time. Because one of the things that we realized in that workshop was that time was not linear at all. It's circular, and you know, it goes like this, and that it's actually, you know, these fields. And anyway, so we had a whole download about time. But in order to do any of that work, you had to let go of who you thought you were. And so by the time we get there, that's one of the very first things that we are challenged to do. And it was not easy. I didn't sleep the entire 3 days. I was ragingly pissed off every time the morning came, which is not like me. I love mornings, they're very peaceful. And I was just like bitter and angry the whole time. And I could not understand why, because there was not one single thing that I can point at that pissed me off. So what I did instead was, it must be these people. You know, I just kind of like, instead of pointing specifically, I just pointed generally. And I sustained this angry posture. It's like 2004, 2005, something like that. And then the very last night comes. Oh, one of the stories she shared was that she keeps downloading all these frequencies, and she hasn't slept for 3 days as well. You know, so it was like, oh, okay, I'm not alone in this, right? And the very last like session that we had before we went to bed, the whale people came in, and the Maori came in, and there was like these song frequencies coming in, and we all, well, pretty much we'd all opened up, and I had a wonderful transmission and gift. Transmission as in light and coordinates, right? So I go to bed that night, I sleep so hard, I dream amazing dreams, and I wake up and I feel completely changed. It's like I'm looking in the mirror and I don't even really recognize the body that I'm looking at. I love every aspect of what I'm looking at in the mirror like this. So that's one of my triggering master teacher stories. That was I would say maybe like 10 on the list, because like I said, I was thick. I had to get triggered a lot in order to learn some of these lessons. But here's the thing, and I'm going to reference Almeen again, because she is very triggering, but at the same time, there's some, when you're able to step out of the mind of, and this is 4D canopy, of perceiving things as good or bad, you start to hear this other voice inside of you that knows what is happening is important, and knows that your attention needs to be there, like this, you know, and you do it, and you grow from it, and you deepen in who you are and how you function, and you you know, more and more of you get to know deeper levels of yourself. So very often we need to have a cracking in order to allow that to happen, and so. Master teachers, I don't mean like, you know, just like learning journeying, or, you know, I don't mean the beginning steps. I mean the deeper steps, when you're really facing the hard places inside of yourself like this, you know. Those master teachers are doing you a favor when they're cracking you like that. Okay, it sucks and it's uncomfortable, but afterwards, if you really show up for it and let it change you, you are all the better for it, and you are grateful, and you know, you are even more at peace with another level of yourself. There's more harmony inside, and then you're able to be at peace and trust yourself. You know, there's so many benefits to it. So, and I have one more that I want to share, just because it's going to relate later on, and when I talk more about light codes, is okay. Dum, 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 dum. One of the things that we need, that trusting yourself piece that I'm on, right? As you grow and expand into the mysteries, into the mystery schools, or mystery school teachings, and you're working with transmissions and stuff like this, you start to wake up to the reality that the lie is different at every level. And this is a very harsh reality. Oh, hello, Starshine. Hello, darling. Darling Caitlin. Oh, and Cindy. Hi, Lisa. Hi, Stacy. Hi, guys. Sorry, I'm not keeping up on you guys popping up. So good to see you. Thanks for being here. Oh crap, what was I at? All right, yeah, the lie is different at every level. And there's a lot of like when people often realize this, when the lie gets revealed, there's like this weaving of mistrust and betrayal, and there's these experiences like this. And it's like for example, like all gurus fall, right? You know, all gurus fall. All gurus have to come off the pedestal like this. And my very first introduction into spiritual practice was from a teacher that came from an ashram of a fallen guru. You know, that was like boom, right in my face right away. And I saw that. I'm sorry, this comment just caught my mind, just caught my attention here about the shifts are quite jarring. Okay, darling. Okay. So, all right. So the lie is different every level. Let me get back to that. Okay. So it's like we put all of our faith and trust and all this stuff in something on the outside. And yes, that's because we're at a certain consciousness level, we have to have something on the outside to wake us up, but we can't rely on it, trust it. That's not the it, you know. It's kind of like if they're really here to help us, just like light beings and angels and other interdimensional beings that we work with, if they're really here to help you, they're here to help you get the training wheels off and stand on your own and be, you know, claim your sovereignty as a galactic citizen like that, you know. Oh, the betrayal. Yeah. Whew. So that betrayal piece is huge because there's so many people. The mysteries. All right. So this is why the mystery schools eventually had to fall, because the transmissions were coming in, and the transmissions are. Oh crap! I forgot to go through the 9 dimensions. Hold on a second. The transmissions that are coming in have to pass through this collective field. If you're not. The denser the consciousness becomes, the more these transmissions have to wade, more interference have to wade through in this field, and they become corrupt. So as soon as you have a transmission coming in and you're processing it with the mind, it immediately goes into a polarity, immediately goes into a negative and positive, which actually opens that transmission up for other things, to have piggybacked on it like this. So the more the teachers are here, the ones that are really here to wake you up are here to give you the empowerment so you can tap into the galactic highways of light, but also bring it in at a pure level without having to pass through, without having it get contaminated from the collective mental field like this, the polarity field, the solar plexus field, So there's a lot to be said about triggering teachers. And that also means ones that are not in body as well. And we would maybe call them teachers of the dark, dark beings that, scared the shit out of us, or maybe we got psychically attacked, or, stuff like this. They are teaching us things as well. They're teaching us how to stand in our own power, not calling someone else's power, but our own power, like that. So, wow, I just totally went off a bunch of levels there. So getting back to, all those mystery schools had to fall because these transmissions that were like the life strands for our consciousness embodied, were getting piggybacked with distortions. And this is why so many beings that's why there's so much confusion out there, because what they do is they take a really high level truth, like the one that all that is, that that's the 8th dimension that we see right here, the all that is creator source, and they piggyback other things on top of it. So we'll take that in as the truth, because the one part of the truth that we recognize, it's a yes, and this other part, and we know, and some part of us knows that we don't know what we don't know, right? And so we're going to trust that those other things coming in, and that's how it just grows in its corruption, and they eventually had to fall. So light languages. Okay, I'm going to tie this into light languages. The biosuit. Okay, so before I talk about the biosuit, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to back up for a minute and talk about these 9 dimensions so you guys have a context of understanding here. So the first dimension is the iron crystal core, but it's also the perineum that's the base of the spine, the perineum in between the vagina, anus, scrotum, and anus, like this. Right in there, there's these immortal cells, 4 original cells that who you are, that is anchored in the golden light consciousness of, that's the 1D, okay? So that is an actual physical, it has a physical location, but it's also, a focal point for our, like a homing beacon for our soul to find us, like this, okay? So, so that's the 1D. So this is our will to live. This is our knowing that we're wanted and we're here for a reason. I mean, there's like deep, deep, deep consciousness levels that we recognize when we have that lens completely opened and life force is flowing through it. And then you have 2D, which is the cellular aspects of your physical body. That's all the ionic exchanges going on. It's right, but it also includes atoms and molecules, that covalent bonding, that kind of thing. That's a language, that's a consciousness that's happening in your body. And that is a level of knowing and dialogue that you can have with your body like this. And we very often do have conversations or, receive data sets back and forth with our physical body. So, so that's the 2D. And then the 2D gets imbued with our soul level consciousness and that's what creates 3D. So we're experiencing these exquisite biosuits and we're walking through time, space, right here. And this is our 3D experience like this. And then 4D is the mental realm. It's the mind, but it's also timelines. It's the time body. It's the stories that open us up to ideas and perceptions. It's a collective grid that's within, through, and all around this planet and connects us all. So 4D is a very influential field of reality on our human experience like this. And this is the one that's mostly corrupted. And when I say mostly corrupted, it's, it's a lot better than it was, but it's still highly, highly poisoned with ideas and limiting thought forms like this. And then you have 5D, which is the Akashic field, the perception of your soul's journey, the perception of you separating from source and having a incarnational experience, journey like this, okay? And then there's records of that. There's energy held in the Akasha that influence you here and now, contracts and bondings, and I'm sure you guys are familiar with that if you're sitting here listening to me talk. So, and then we have the 6D, which is the actual blueprint. It's the blueprint of the unfoldment of our consciousness throughout the entire galaxy. So it's not a journey anymore. It's an isness. Start a level of awareness of yourself. Okay, and then you have the shape. The light body is created by the song of who you are. The 7D field. The 7D is also the galactic highways of light and how we receive light codes. That's not to say light codes are 7D. Okay, so when there's encodements in the cosmic, or we'll just call it cosmic or universal order like this, and we're in our solar ring and we're connecting with our sun, and there's these data streams that we have access to, free flowing natural access to like this, and that's the 7D. But it's also the song signature of who you are, the soul song like this, and that soul song created your light body. Okay, that's those tones, those sounds created the blueprint of who you are like this. So there's that. And then you have the 8D, which is the crown right here that we perceive, connect with the all that is consciousness, the all that is knowing, that is creator God like this. Though I don't like the term God because there's a lot of hang-ups with that. I mean, I don't like goddess either because there's hang-ups with that. It's like, I would love to have a neutral way. I call it like oneness, or maybe the all that is like this. Okay, and then there's the center of the Milky Way galaxy, which is all the unfoldments of, has the encodements for all the unfoldments within the galaxy like this, and that's the 9D, and that's actually right here in this energy center that's right above the head. The ancients would call it the Viracocha or the Anakarana. The Pleiadians often just call it the 8th chakra. It's the sun. It's your own personal sun. Okay, so those are the lenses and those are the dimensions. Now each dimension is an organizing force to the ones below it. So they're nesting dolls experience that all nestle together and are connected by this axis right here, which is your central core. All right, so we have that understanding. The central core is connecting all those levels of perception. So when you're sitting in the here and now, you can perceive all these levels in your knowing, in your being. All these data sets are coming to you, to your hyperdimensional biosuit, and then you direct your attention to the different data sets like this. Okay, so so light languages. Light languages are they're pretty awesome. But there's a lot of beings that are star beings that speak a language that's not a light language. Okay, so you have consciousness like the whale people. They have a beautiful language. It's not necessarily a light language in that my definition of a light language is that it's an encodement. It could be a tone. It does not. It's for number one. It does not have sounds like a language, like an I and an A and a U. You know, it doesn't have like the Latin sounds. It doesn't have the sounds that you would, you know, all the different sounds that you would find in the Latin Greek languaging like this. Okay, because and the reason why is because it's not just information. It's not just information for someone to know or somebody to, you know. It's actually a seed of consciousness. So, and this is why the ancients would refer to it more of a transmission. It's a seed that is light. It's an encodement. It has it has an encodement for your light body to upgrade your light body, right? And it has a sound that created the seed, and then you're pulling it forward. You're pulling it through this collective grid work. You're pulling it through this collective grid work and bringing it into the here and now like this. Okay. Now that collective grid work that I'm talking about, that collective grid work is heavily polluted. It's heavily damaged and polluted because of the, you know, all the manipulations, which we've talked about in other videos like this. So when you're bringing a light language in, you are best leaving the mind field completely out of it and letting the natural intelligence of your biosuit pull these frequencies through. So that means you're no longer taking transmissions, and this takes that act of transmissions like this coming in, and it turns it into transmissions like this. Okay, and when it's like this, it is very pure. There is no mental field for it to go through. There is no polarity process for it to go through. Not until there's no polarity process happening until you come out with a sound. Okay. Now, our biosuits are highly tuned, they're trained, they're conditioned. There's all these things going on in our DNA and there's in our genes and the way our energy system, the anatomy, different layers of our anatomy system work, okay? So one of the absolute, this is something that the elders have stressed for a long, long time, which is why it was forbidden to speak light languages for a very long time, is that in order to speak light languages 100% refined without any level of corruption, as in no lie on a different level, only the truth can ever cross your lips. Okay, and this is the teaching that would be in the deeper mysteries, is that when only the absolute truth comes out of your mouth, then everything you say is the absolute truth. That is a deep, deep teaching right there. That actually, what I was exposed to, it was through the medicine people of South America in the Andes, and if that is the level at which you're functioning in like this, then you are going to be an effective light language speaker, you know. But there's a lot of people that do transmissions without the sound. It's not the sound's not powerful, because it's very, 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 very powerful, which is part of why this level of discernment is part of the process. So, are you guys with me so far? Have I gone too far out there, or is it making sense what I'm saying? Oh my gosh, Jorge, hey darling, I was thinking about you the other day, darling. Thank you so much for being here. Good to hear from you. Okay, following. Okay, thank you, Caitlin. So, oh my gosh, I have all these other notifications blocking up my screen here. Okay. All right. Yeah, it's good for me to take a break from talking, because I just like spewed out a whole bunch of talking. I needed to get something to drink. Having some triggers, so great things to pop open. That's awesome. You guys are great. I love you. You guys are such troopers. Thank you. This is why it's such a relief to know each other and be around each other, you know. It's like, oh my gosh, you know. I love that. Okay. So let me pick up back with, oh yeah, everything you say is the truth, then everything's the truth, like this. Okay. Now, I want to address a couple things with that. When your 7D receptor, receptors of the body are open and you're working with those frequency, which is the third eye. Okay. You're going to receive transmissions, especially nowadays, because the galactic mind is such where it's just waiting for us to have an empty cup for it to fill with transmissions, with encodements, you know? So it's like nowadays it goes really fast and things just kind of like clip along, clip along, clip along, clip along. Like, so when you are at that level to receive a transmission like this, then it is eventually going to turn into sounds. Or what will happen is like a download comes and then over time you unzip the file like this. And then the consciousness teachings that came with that encodement unfold in your life. Like, okay, but the big thing about light codes is that it's opening a consciousness. It's not just information for information's sake. It's something that actually changes your capacity for awareness of yourself and who you are, and you know, like this. Those are light codes. And often what happens is that Westerners especially, will take in a whole bunch of downloads, you know, and then maybe not quite respect the power of those downloads, and then go home, and then our life will fall apart, you know, our entire life will fall apart. And like, you know, you go through hell for a little while. That's because all the parts of you that are not aligned with that level of truth is up, and you're walking through it like this, you know. So it's something that you really need to be careful, be compassionate with when you're downloading. And if you are one that transmits to other people, the same thing, you know, be compassionate with that. Because there's a lot of people that are saying yes, 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 but it's their head, their ego mind, their want for something that's saying yes. It's not actually here saying yes, you know. When the here saying yes is so, it's kind of like, you don't even need to talk. You just meet eyes and you know, download transmission happens, you know. That's the heart yes. When it's the mind yes, then, you know, then there's other things going on with that. So we all have to learn about recognizing the lie, though. The lie is at a different level. We all have to learn how to discern. So it's going to come up, and it's coming up not because the person that it came from is good, bad, right, or wrong. It came up because it's time for you to be in your autonomy and recognize the truth like this. Wait out the distortion, recognize the truth. I'm sure many of us do that. We're in these traditions that we sort of kind of resonate with, but there's a lot of other things we don't resonate with like this, but we're still in that tradition for whatever reason. Okay, I have Brittany here saying, I hear tones randomly throughout the day. One ear will hear it at a time usually, and it fades after a while. Yes, 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 yes. So these fields with these realms within realms within realms that I was talking about, when they are opening, especially the higher dimensional realms, like the 6, 7D, like those kinds of veils start lifting, those realms are like in a constant tone. And then there's tones within tones like this. It's just like our hyperdimensional biosuit when I talk about the heartbeat and the rhythms, guys. So you're in your heart. You're in your heart. You feel your heartbeat. You feel the heartbeat ripple through the body. And you start to notice that there's other rhythms within the heartbeat. Some of those rhythms are within the heartbeat, and some of those rhythms encompass the heartbeat. Okay? It's that kind of being present with that experience is training you for these galactic highways of light, clear discernment. Because the highways of light are there rhythms within rhythms within rhythms, and these tones that spontaneously happen is because certain realms are opening up because we're tuning into that piece for whatever reason. Oftentimes it's our higher levels tuning into it, and we're just in our personality going through our day. This happens. But then, all right, so now that's starting to get more into the endocrine system, getting control of the endocrine system. So the reason why so many people are blinded, and the reason why we can't naturally hear the multidimensional tones that are constantly around us. I mean, the forests sing, the flowers sing. I mean, there's there's rhythms everywhere. There's insects. Oh my gosh, the insects. Oh, the night sounds. I love being in thick woods, listening to the night sounds. It's just, oh, it strikes me in such a profound way. But anyway, there's everything is in a constant song when your multidimensional hearing is online. And when our third eye is open and when our heart is open and we're really present in a hyperdimensional biosuit. When you're present in your biosuit really deeply, like down here, like most of the energy is not here, but most of the energy is like here, cycling, pulsing like this, then this knowing of your connectedness is so deep, and you can tune into anything and hear its song. The plants, the spiders and their webs. I mean, they all have this thing that you can tune into. So the realms within realms within realms. It's like the rhythms within rhythms within rhythms, and then you're tapping into this galactic highway of light and sorting through these tones. And as certain things come online, you'll start to hear them. When your third eye opens up really big, if you guys have ever had like a shattering kind of experience, and your third eye opens up super big, and all the realms within realms open up, and you completely lose who you are. You're like, boom, who you are, it doesn't even matter. It's not even on the radar of your awareness. You're just, you know, right, it's like boom, source, you know, like that. There's no thought, there's no anything like this. That journey to that place, even when it's really quick, even it's like it's predicated by a tone. Those tones open you up, open you up, open you up. There's tones you can get exposed to that will open you up to the empty spaces in your atoms. You know, there's tones that will open you up to even maybe just the cellular layer. I mean, sound is so powerful. It is so powerful. So, so light codes. I'm still answering where the light codes come from. So we have whale songs. So their language isn't considered to me a light code, even though it's amazing and it has healing properties and it does, you know, have an effect on us when we're hearing it and speaking it like this. It's like there's also like the night forest sounds like this. I wouldn't necessarily call those light codes either, light languages either, though they are extraordinary multidimensional languages, not light languages. Light languages, as I was saying earlier, are those seeds that expand awakened consciousness once they're digested through a biosuit, through the energetic anatomy of a biosuit. That's my definition of a light code like this. I have another comment here. This is Patrick. Is light language perceived by humans, animals, insects? Once I heard the sound talk of a butterfly. Yes, exactly, Patrick. Yes, exactly. Yes. That all of nature has a tone, has a song. All of nature does. With the bugs, with the insectoids, you're more aware of their vibrations because of their makeup. You know, you're more aware of their vibrations than maybe like a tree or a flower, you know, because of the frequency that they're existing on and their sounds and like this. But if you really get still, you can tap into a pulsing. It's really soft and gentle, but like a tree is kind of like it's just a moving. It's like ooh. You know, that was a little bit too fast for tree language, but it's, you know, it's something like this. Everything has a rhythm and a song and a tone once this is open. So when people's third eyes open, it's just not psychic vision that comes online. Your multidimensional hearing comes online too. And then, but in order for this to be a place where you can digest light codes and be a liberated being, it has to digest all the way through, you know, it has to come in all the way through here. So it has to have an anchor of an open heart. It has to have an anchor of an open perineum, as in the perineum is radiating the heartbeat of the mother, the Pachamama. And that is like a love song, you know, to that level of light. And it just sucks it in like gravity, you know? So there's stuff like that. I'm going to touch back on the endocrine system, and the lie is different at every level. And the lie is different at every level, by the way, is the blue avian, is the blue avian's insights. When your lenses are opened, okay, and you have full and free access to the galactic highways of light. And those galactic highways of light is information for everybody, not just certain people. So if anybody claims to have the monopoly on the truth, right, or the monopoly on a certain communication with beings, it's not because those beings are saying, yo, you're the special one I'm going to communicate with. It's that they are the only ones that have the frequency capacity to be a receiver for those data sets. Okay, so like the blue avians, I never even knew who they were until the last night at the Sasquatch conference. They presented. So it's like, actually, I guess I need to be more precise with what I'm saying. The Sasquatch brought them and I to meet. Let's put it like that. So it's like these galactic communication grids are for everybody. Anybody with the Shoemaker-Levy comet hitting Jupiter, it's everybody with the eyes to see and the ears to hear and the heart to receive, like this. So anybody claiming monopoly is not the truth, though they might speak the truth and it resonates. It's because it's that lie is different at every level. It's like there's always these other things woven in there, you know. So after I came home from the Sasquatch conference, I researched who the blue avians were, because I never heard of them before. I was like, wow, these guys are cool, you know. and actually, in order to hear them, I had to be in the empty space in my atoms. It was like my awareness needed to be on that level, and then once it was, then we can have dialogue and communication like this. So I did research, and then I heard about, you know, the other people in the blue avians, and several of them claimed that they are the only ones that the blue avians talk to. And that's not the truth. It's really about, like I said, it's about who has the frequency to receive the appropriate frequency, the appropriate cup to attract and receive these transmissions like this. That would be the only reason why one person hears things and the other person doesn't, okay? It's because the receiver is not quite the right frequency to receive these transmissions that are free for everybody. So I'm saying that. The arachnids and these beings that look like scorpions brought them forward. Ooh, yes, oh my gosh. Okay, the arachnids are really active right now. They're very primal frequency and scary, really super scary to most people. But here's a way to deal with that, okay? Okay, so the way to deal with that is to upgrade your own relationship to spider. Okay, so they're really primal and they creep us out, and it's because of the conditioned response that humans have. There's certain aspects of us that have been shut down with fear and shame and trauma and stuff like this. And it was really shut down so we wouldn't claim full access of our endocrine system. Because once we claim full access of our endocrine system, these are the stargates in the body. And you can communicate with any being, anywhere in the cosmos once those are under your control, okay? Humanity is inundated with stuff, inundated with interferences in the endocrine system, and it's a result of this manipulation. So the arachnids, ooh, very, very triggering, because they're like representative of the depth of interconnectedness we all are in the collective, you know, in the grid of consciousness. So this planetary grid, imagine a gazillion light cords coming right into your core, a gazillion light cords. And these light cords are like webs, like a spider's web that connects to everything and everybody around you. Okay, that freaks a lot of people out. Okay, and that's represented by their relationship to the arachnid consciousness. They are extremely communal, and they are very powerful galactic conscious beings. Like the indigenous lore is that, you know, grandmother spider is the one who weaves the reality of the universe together. You know, these are very primal levels. Okay, so Caitlin says that she loves them and that they have been so fascinating to work with, and that the light beyond the hologram, yes, the holy banana. Oh, let me get back to the technique. Right. Sorry, I digressed. Okay, so this technique is you call on your spider aspect. Okay, if you are waking up to the galactic mind, you have a spider aspect that is you on some level. Okay, so you call on your spider aspect to present, and it'll be whatever characteristics that it's going to be. I'll use mine for example. When I first met mine, it was this big, giant, hairy, super scary thing, right? But then in that, I say, I see you. And I call this a vision practice, okay? I see you. I accept you. Thank you for being here, right? Big, scary, trippy spider. My skin's crawling. I'm flipping out, right? But I'm feeling, sensing, knowing the truth of what I'm saying to this being, like that. Okay, in doing that, there is no hostile exchange. There's the fear dissipates, and then you start conjuring up the all that is presence that makes up that consciousness of spider. So you're looking into the eyes of spider, and you're looking for the all that is within the eyes of spider. Now you're not going into the eyes of spider. You're actually, your curiosity, your yes to see it is drawing the oneness consciousness of from that, for that is making up spider to you. So boom, you're no longer looking at a scary spider. You're looking at the all that is consciousness in a spider form. Okay, this will change the energy of your relationship with spider. This is a highly advanced thing that I just told you, but this is a really cool practice. If you do this with everything that freaks you out, you'll start cruising through your shadow work. You'll start cruising through it. It's a really, really great method. And in the depth of compassion that comes from doing that is profound, profound. It's like when you really anchor that in, everything has your compassion. And it's not something that you say you need to have. You really feel the compassion. You really see it, feel it, taste it, know it, have it as the truth, the dominant truth that's resonating through your body. And so this is a really, really profound practice. Okay. So, okay, monopoly on the truth. I've had teachers that thought they've had the monopoly on the truth, and they don't. So, and this is why everything I say here, everything I'm putting out here is open source code. You know, take what lands and run with it, and what doesn't land, you know, great, it's all fine. It's like I'm just sharing my experience of the perceptions and the multidimensional experience with you guys to, you know, give you something to connect with and claim your empowerment and autonomy on those levels, you know. It's like humanity has been deeply, deeply manipulated. And I mean, so far where our endocrine system is polluted with implants and programs, and, you know, our own hyperdimensional biosuit has been hijacked from us, which is part of what feeds those beliefs that our body is the enemy, you know, is because, you know, we come in and then it comes pre-programmed from all the trauma dramas that we've inherited through our lineage. And it's work to clean it up. It's work to clean up this biosuit. And this is one of the huge teachings that totally took me to the next level that I learned from working with the immortals. Okay, so the triggering masters, the triggering teachers that I was talking about, even though they triggered the heck out of me, my truth, my knowing kept me going to them, even though I would go and, you know, get whacked, and then I would go home and my life would fall apart. I mean, even though it was intense, and it was just like my knowing just drove me in that way, you know? So one of the things that I pursued was continuing to meet immortals, bringing them into my field. So they started showing up. Almeen was the first, and then others started to show up after that. And these are immortals. And what I learned was that there's different stages of immortals, and there are different that lie at every level, kind of thing, at different levels. There was some really deep levels I needed to wake up to. And one of them was what happens to us after death. Because when I had a conversation with an immortal in a lucid dream one time, and what they told me was it's come down to the name of the game is retaining your memories between lifetimes. Okay, so it's like that is the piece of the Tao that this particular immortal master said it was the most important thing to pursue. And I knew that was true when he said it, but I didn't quite understand the context that he meant it. You know, it was like it was there, but, you know, it was a transmission. I had to digest it. So and then he wasn't the only immortal and other master teacher to say this to me. So it started to become a pattern. And the other pattern that came along with that understanding, with that statement made to me about retaining, it's all about retaining your memories between lifetimes, was claim autonomy over your nervous system. I'm sorry, your nervous system, but claim autonomy over your endocrine system, especially because of those stargates, right? So, and this was echoed by several different immortal teachers. And then I met another teacher who was a majorly triggering teacher. I mean, the entire time I studied with her, it was like one years and years of dredging through shadow work. But I felt compelled to do it because I felt myself changing, even though it was all shadow work. I felt deep growth and change inside of myself. So I stuck it out. But what I mean to say in that was that there was a period in time where I was like deep in hopelessness. It was like, I do so much clearing, I do so much healing. I'm like in this, I'm clearing, and I mean, constant soul retrieval, all this growth and expansion, like this was happening. It's like, will this ever end? And this wasn't long after I had the realization of how inundated humanity is with interferences, with programmings and entities, and oh my gosh, all the stuff in the Akasha. I mean, I woke up to that. I was like, holy crap, how does humanity have a chance? So I went into like this deep, like despair part of myself. And then in that, I was in that deep despair part of myself, and I was in the dark. And then I saw this immortal again. But this time I recognized him differently. I realized that he was me, like this. And as soon as I had that recognition, and by looking into his eyes, I realized, oh, wait a minute, I have come light years, quantums, because I absolutely knew that I've cleared out enough of those interferences where I will retain my memories between lifetimes, and not just retain my memories between lifetimes, but actually navigate the bardos and be done with the incarnational cycle of this planet, if that's what I choose. It was like, as soon as I made that eye contact with this being that I thought was another, was actually me, that whole download happened. And then I completely came out of my despair. I was like, well, that's it. I knew. I was like, woohoo, I made it. And when I mean made it, as in I made it from this being a endless cycle where I feel disempowered in, So that was a really big teaching. And as I grow in that and teach others to do this, reclaiming your endocrine system is a huge piece to having the level of autonomy you need to be able to trust yourself, and the levels you need to trust to pass through those deep, dark, those deep pieces. Okay, so hello, Clarissa. I don't think we met. Hi. That's how I feel when is this going to end? Like, I feel like I'm not going to be doing the correct inner work. Yes, so let's talk about the lies of different at every level again. One moment. And then, oh, darling Caitlin, thank you for putting into those words. Yes. Thank you, Cole. I'm glad that's helpful for you. Because this is a marathon, and it does feel like, oh my God, it's going to be forever. But number one, it's recognizing the moment of death, that your awareness is there when you die, and you can, to navigate the bardos, so you're no longer in the incarnational cycle, like that. And that's not saying you're no exodus from earth. I don't mean it like that. It means that you are in complete command of your being after you're not in this biosuit anymore. Okay. And you go to the real light. You don't go into the bardos as in, what people would call the pearly gates, or, all that stuff, all these lies that we've told ourselves, or that has been fed to us by the establishments of what is the afterlife. I mean, taking away your memory between lifetimes is the biggest thing that corrupted the endocrine system, that corrupted the biosuit. Being able to see ourselves beyond the linear human who we are right now. I mean, telling a population that you have one lifetime, and after that you're going to forever sit in the right hand of God. I mean, what a way to screw up a bunch of souls, because they're really going to do that. They're naturally loving and opening and love creation, so they're going to follow that, and that they get lost. Oh, bye, Clarissa. Bye. Can you elaborate on that with the bardos? The bardos process. Okay, this is talking about the Book of the Dead, and the Tibetan Book of the Dead, where it was a channeling. It was a channeling that was brought through a Vedic scripture So it was written in Sanskrit, I'm pretty sure, which is one of the oldest light languages, written light languages on this planet. So what happened was he talked about when you die, you face mannequins that emulate different stories that you have about who you are and who you think you are. There's these like, say, think of them like stages, scenes of events in your lifetime. Now, if you get involved in any of those scenes, if you get distracted, if your energy gets distracted, emotionally or mentally distracted into any of those scenes, it pulls your energy out until you eventually end up watching your future mother and father conceive you again, and then you return to the earth. If you successfully navigate the bardos, you do not, when you can pass through all of those scenes of your life, you can pass through them all without losing any energy to them, and you can actually go bust past the astral realm and actually land back into the eye of the sun. And that's actually the real going back home. It's going back to the sun. And once you're in the sun, you're not trapped in the incarnational cycles of any one planet. You can go to anywhere in the solar ring or anywhere that you want to be. It's like it's a true free level of freedom like this. So that's the bardos. And I think there's really good translations out there of the Tibetan Book of the Dead, but I can't recommend any off the top of my head. I apologize for that. All right. So retaining your memories between lifetimes is a big piece, because when you do that, when you reach that level of continuity within yourself, different aspects of your endocrine system become online, and you have access to them when you didn't have access before. Okay, and this is also when you start transcending everything that's in your Akashic field. You actually allow all the limitations, all the organizing forces of your Akashic field, you allow it to leave the cellular intelligence and different energetic anatomies of your body, and then you actually transcend the soul's journey. Okay, and actually, I had a guru talk to me about this a long time ago, and I did not understand at all what he was saying, but I knew it was important. You know, another one of those, right? And but he said it in the context that you can outgrow your chart. You can outgrow your astrological chart. You can outgrow the pattern of your birth. And in retrospect, I realized he was saying something much more profound until I wasn't ready to understand. But I get it now. It's like, this is what the soul retrieval across multiple existences and levels of, level races and stuff like this, and star beings, like, all these different aspects of yourself. You're reclaiming all those levels, reintegrating all those levels of your quantum of soul retrieval like this, and then you transcend the original potential that you were born here with. And this is a very unique, according to Indigenous record, this is a very unique time in the cosmos. This is not something that everybody has access to, which is why so many beings really want to be here right now, because this is a very precious moment in history, in galactic history, because there's so much can be transcended. Let's see. There's so much to say about the lie is different at every level. But just know that, don't let that betrayal grow bitter for you. It's like there's a lot of betrayal of self that we have to forgive in our journey. There's times when we've sold ourselves out, or we, demeaned there's so many things we did to make ourselves small that was not respectful of ourselves. We didn't hold a safe space for ourselves like this. And that's kind of like a betrayal, like how a parent and child relationship, how a child feels in certain times like that. So it's, compassion for yourself. It's okay. This is one of a gazillion reiterations of that kind of experience. And you're having it now, so you can recognize it and then move past it, because you are the one in charge of where your awareness goes, where your energy goes, where your emotions go. We feel trapped because that 4D field is so polluted. Oh, and this is where I was going to talk about with some of the ancient traditions. They are absolutely relevant, to get your mind to not be so susceptible to the mind control stuff, right? And you can have an exchange with reality that's beyond the mental experience, the mental field, the polarity field, you know. So those are all good, but then there is a point in time when you integrate enough of your soul level essence, and where you have command of yourself on those levels, so it's not a thing anymore. So maybe you don't have to meditate as much as you used to. You know, it's because you're awake on those levels. The emotional body is clear on that level. You've taken care of a lot of that mind control stuff. It's no longer relevant for you anymore. And a lot of that happens, that kind of, we'll say, call it a hump. You get over that hump when you start clearing out all the stuff that's in your, a certain amount of stuff in your soul's journey, and you transcend the soul's journey in your awareness, and you can perceive who you are beyond the soul's journey. And when you start reaching that step, then all those practices are not as relevant anymore. Not to say that I don't practice yoga or meditate, because I absolutely do, because it's about claiming autonomy of your endocrine system and the stargates of your body, and maintaining the new DNA dance from the encodements we're digesting. You know, it's like the journey of claiming your endocrine system is pretty profound, and there's practices that are woven into those yogic practices that are geared towards that. One of them being like aversions and stuff like this. I think it was last year during the Looking Glass project, we downloaded, we were working with some beings that introduced themselves into the entourage. I'm trying to remember who they were. I don't remember who they were. That's a real bummer. It'll come back to me. It's just not accessible right now. But they taught about the hypothalamus gland being polluted, and part of what held that pollution in place was our belief systems and our self, like that we are a sinner, that we're not good enough. We, you know, all these recordings and programmings and conditionings and beliefs that we can't be divine. We were, you know what I mean? It's like all those kinds of things held a field around the hypothalamus, which is which kept it shut down. Now in the yogic teachings, the hypothalamus is extremely important to feed, because that is the gateway for your higher capacities to reach the physicality like this. You know, it's like it activates your axis on a whole nother level. And that's where inversions come in. It's like you're allowing the nectars from your spinal cord have gravity pull it into the hypothalamus. And then the hypothalamus connects to the pineal pituitary, complex like this. So, and dear Starshine Dennis, I do want to mention this for you, that all of the organs of the body, but especially our endocrine glands, they exist more than just on the physical level. They're stargates, so they're in your blueprint. They're in your blueprint even when they're physically not there. Same thing happens like when you get a gallbladder removed and stuff like that. It's still in your blueprint, even though physically it's not there doing, working on that level. So this could be advantage or not, depending on what your situation is. All right, sorry, let me get back. So feeding the nectars into the hypothalamus. So the hypothalamus is it's in charge of body heat, regulating body heat, but it's also in charge of certain autonomic responses, like your dopamine and your serotonin, melatonin levels, the balancing the brain waves, So the hypothalamus is a really key gland to your intuitive capacities like this. So even as you grow more and more and more, the monkey mind is no longer a thing, and you start waking up to these other levels, and then you're faced with taking care of yourself so you can operate on these levels, right? So this is the other thing about light languages and activations. I know I just jumped around right there, and I'm going to start wrapping up. Is that just because you get the cracking and you get cracked open, it doesn't mean it's going to integrate if you don't change the way you be. If you won't allow yourself to change the way you're being, okay, that includes your life habits and the things that you do and the habitual ways that you're in a relationship, then that you might have that cracking, but you can go right back to how you were. So light codes are not the end all be all kind of, fixer. You have to be a participant in the digestion of those transmissions. And here I'm going to give you guys another technique to enhance the digestion of those transmissions before I get off. And that is a fire ceremony. Fire is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful being, level of consciousness, elemental like this. It's a transformer. So you can use fire to assist, the element of fire to assist you in digesting these light codes. And also, you know, you have fire in your body as well. So it feeds us too. So, so you have your encodement. The encodement came. You felt the transmission. Maybe you heard a tone. Maybe, you know, you have some kind of data set that gave you the knowing, that inspired that feeling, sensing, knowing that a transmission's happening or happened like this. So you have that, and then you have fire before you, whether it be a large fire or a candle or whatever like this. And then you can just kind of form an energy ball with the energy signature of that transmission. And maybe the transmission came through song or sound or whatever. You can make it into, you know, make that sound or whatever into the energy ball. You put it in like this, and then you give the energy ball into the fire. You put it into the fire, and then you touch the flames. You need to make sure you're touching the flames, okay? Because if you're able to touch the flame and not get burned, you are at a high frequency. You're at a frequency with the flame that matches, as harmonic with the flame, so you won't get burned. And then you're at the right frequency to be able to digest even more deeply and feed these light codes. So you have your hands over the flames that you put the light code in, okay, with that energy ball, and then you start with your intention. You're actually pulling the light of the fire into your third eye, right knowing, and into the heart space. And then into the mental field, into the mental lens, which is the solar plexus, right action, right doing, like this. I take you in, I accept you, okay? So it's kind of similar to the vision practice, but in the sentiment of it, but of course it's different. So there's my little tidbit for digesting light codes. Now, if you are one that actually speaks light codes and you know, there's some things that I said about that, and you want to have conversation more on a private level, I'm totally happy to do that, because I'm not here to, you know, make people wrong or anything. That's not why I'm saying the things I'm saying. Okay, it's just, you know, we all learn the way we learn, and the lie is different at every level, and we need to be okay with that. There's no judgment in that. You know, the lie is different at every level. And that's something that the Blue Avians really want us to understand. And they'll help us navigate this chaos, the chaotic times that we're walking through right now. Okay, darlings, I think that's it for me. Unless there's another question, if there's a question that that's really burning, you want me to talk about, go ahead and type it out real quick. In the meantime, I'm going to say thank you guys so much. This is really wonderful to sit and chat with you guys. I really